This has probably happened to you recently. You are sitting with friends, people who know you, people who care about you, and the conversation turns to life, careers, where things are going, and you watch their faces as they look at you, and you can see it. They think you have it figured out, the finances, the career, the direction, and you smile, and you say you're all right, and the conversation moves on. And nobody in that room knows, nobody, that the sword you are carrying might not be the real one. I know, because I do it too, every time.
And here is the thing about that gap, between what you look like from the outside and what you feel like from the inside. The more put together you appear, the wider it gets. Because the people around you stop asking the questions that would let you answer honestly. They assume you are fine. They assume you have a plan. They assume the version of you they see is the complete picture. And you let them assume, not because you are lying, but because you do not yet have the words for what is actually happening. And because explaining it feels harder than just smiling and moving on. And the thing nobody tells you about carrying that gap is how lonely it makes you feel in rooms full of people who care about you. Not lonely in the dramatic sense, not the kind of lonely that announces itself, the quiet kind. The kind that shows up when someone says you seem like you have it all together, and you smile and say thank you, and something inside you just deflates a little. Because being seen as someone who has it figured out means nobody thinks to ask if you are okay. And most of the time you are okay, but okay and figured out are not the same thing. And somewhere in your 30s, the distance between those two words starts to feel enormous. Most of us grew up pulling swords we did not choose. The right grades, the right schools, the right path. Someone put them in front of us and the expectation was clear. Pull. And we pulled. Not because we were passionate about pulling. We were too young for passion. But because that was simply what you did. And for a long time it worked. The pulling led somewhere. The path felt like it was going in the right direction. But then your 30s arrive, and something shifts. The hero moment you were told was coming, the clear role, the defined purpose, the moment the world confirms you are the one who is supposed to be doing this, it does not arrive the way you imagined. You look around at your life, and it is fine, genuinely fine, but it is not the story you were handed. And somewhere in the quiet space between what you expected and what arrived, you start wondering what you are supposed to do next. I want to name something that I think a lot of us feel but almost never say out loud. The in-between. The space where you are not failing. You are genuinely doing okay, maybe even well by most measures. But you are also not the hero of anything yet. You are somewhere in the middle of a story whose shape you cannot see from inside it. And the world does not really have language for that. It has language for success and language for struggle. It has advice for people who are climbing and sympathy for people who have fallen. But for the person who is just here, moving forward without a clear destination, doing the work without knowing if it is the right work, carrying something without knowing what it is building toward, for that person, there is mostly just silence. And I think that silence is where most of us actually live, most of the time, whether we admit it or not. There is a scene in an anime called Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, that I think about constantly. In the story, there is a prophecy, a real sword embedded in stone. Only the true hero can pull it out. And a young man named Himmel, brave, determined, someone who has spent his whole life becoming the person the prophecy describes, walks up to that sword, and he cannot pull it. The stone does not move. The prophecy does not choose him. By every measure of the story he was living inside, he had just failed the first and most important test. I want to describe the scene to you because I think you need to see it even if I cannot show it to you directly. In the scene itself, Himmel walks up to the sword. He wraps both hands around the hilt. He pulls. And nothing happens. The sword does not move. The stone does not release it. The camera holds on his face for a moment, and his expression is not devastated. It is not defeated. It is something quieter and more interesting than either of those things. It is the expression of someone who already suspected this might happen and has already decided what they are going to do next. He steps back from the stone. He picks up a different sword, a plain one, an ordinary one that the prophecy said nothing about, and he walks forward, Not because the story changed, not because he was suddenly chosen, just because he decided. I think about all the different shapes that moment takes in a real life. The promotion that went to someone else, the business idea that did not get the response you hoped for, the relationship that did not work out the way you planned, the year where you did everything right and the results did not show up, the decade where you followed the path and then looked up and realized the path had led somewhere slightly different from where you expected. None of these are catastrophes. Most of them are quiet. Most of them happen on an ordinary Tuesday, and you process them alone, and you get up the next morning and you keep going, and nobody around you even knows that it happened. That is what makes it so specific and so universal at the same time. The stone stays still, and life just continues. The bus still comes. The emails still need answering. The people who depend on you still need you to show up. And you do. You show up, with whatever sword you have in your hand. Because what else are you going to do? And here is what I want you to understand about Himmel's choice, that I think gets missed when people talk about this scene. He did not pick up the fake sword because he had given up on being a hero. He picked it up because he had already decided that the sword was not what made someone a hero. The prophecy was not the source of the heroism. It was just supposed to be the confirmation of something that was already there. And when the confirmation did not come, he realized something that most of us spend years trying to work out. That the confirmation was never the point. That the decision to go was always entirely his. That it had always been entirely his. The sword in the stone was not a lock. It was a test of something different from what everyone assumed. Not a test of worthiness. A test of whether he needed the confirmation to begin. And he did not. He never did. And neither do you. And here's what I want to ask you. What is your fake sword? Because I think you have one. I think most people listening to this are already carrying one without realizing that is what it is. Maybe it is the business you are building without anyone telling you that you are the right person to build it. Maybe it is the family you are showing up for even on the days when you do not feel like the hero of anything. Maybe it is the yearly trip you promised yourself you would give the people you love. And you kept that promise quietly, without fanfare, without a prophecy confirming you should. Maybe it is just the fact that you are still here, still going, still carrying something forward on a day when everything in you wanted to put it down. That is the sword. That has always been the sword. But here is the part that makes carrying the fake sword genuinely difficult. There is a voice that comes with it, and the voice sounds reasonable. It says, "Who are you to be doing this?" It says, "You were not chosen." It says, "The people who are supposed to be doing this have the real sword, and you are just pretending, and one day everyone is going to notice." I think most of us have heard that voice. I think for a lot of us it is the loudest thing in the room on the hard days. And I want to say something directly to that voice. Himmel heard it too. Every hero who ever picked up a fake sword heard it. The voice is not evidence that you are wrong. It is evidence that what you are doing is difficult enough to be worth doing. Because the voice does not show up for things that do not matter. It only shows up when something real is at stake. And what you are carrying, what you have been carrying, quietly, without a prophecy, is real. Whether the voice agrees or not. You were never going to be chosen. The stone was never going to move for you the way the prophecy described. And somewhere in your 30s, maybe earlier, maybe later, you already know that. You have already felt the stone stay still. And here is what that actually means. It means the confirmation you were waiting for was never coming. It means the version of yourself that was going to arrive once everything was figured out is not a future version. It is the version standing here right now, fake sword in hand, still going. Your friends look at you and think you have it together. Maybe they are not wrong. Maybe the fact that you kept going, quietly, without a prophecy, maybe that is exactly what having it together actually looks like. Not certainty, just the decision to carry something anyway. If this landed somewhere real for you, share it with someone who is carrying their fake sword and has not told anyone yet. Not the person who appears to have it figured out, the one behind that appearance. They need to know they are not the only one. I will see you in the next one. Still wandering.